Good morning, new coach mistake number 67. Time of doing this video, it is Father's Day. I'm just out for a morning jog and I'm reflecting. I've got some good music on, mixed in with a bit of learning. And today's message is a Father's Day message, and hopefully this resonates with you, whether you have a father, have a dad, whatever you like to call it, or not. I believe that most rookie, amateur, unsuccessful coaches have what I call a weak core story. What do I mean by that? Well, to kind of give you a story, I grew up without a father. My dad wasn't around. My mum and my dad split up when I was very young. And in my adolescent years, teenage years, I had a core story. Had a core story of not being enough, and that ultimately that decision by my dad to not be there brought on a lot of anger, mainly towards my mum. I think I've got a fly in my mouth. Mainly towards my mum, unconsciously, may I add, until I had some good therapy and coaching that I recognised this. Some anger towards my mum, blaming her, incidentally, it turns out, for my dad leaving. I had a lot of anger growing up, a lot of frustration, a lot of kind of suppressed masculinity. Very feminine, very easily triggered emotionally, and a lot of that is to do with me having what I call a weak core story around my childhood. And I find a lot of coaches have this, where they get into the world of coaching because they want to help other people, but maybe they themselves have wounds that are still not fully healed, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. I probably still have some wounds that are not healed. Often what happens when I do a video like this, God sends me a message. Don't get cocky, Miles. Don't be thinking that you're all fixed now. Not that we're ever not broken. Not that we're ever broken. I use the term fixed, not lightly. What I mean is that I may still have wounds that are open, and I'm fully aware of that as I record this video. But I find that a lot of coaches who are out there building a coaching business, who maybe have a weak core story, what that means is they've had life experiences that are tough, and I'm sure you have. A weak core story is when a rookie, amateur, unsuccessful coach is out there building a coaching business, putting on a persona of a coach, but on the inside they've still got pain, anger, frustration. They're still finding themselves judging other people more than they don't. I still judge other people, but I catch myself doing it now. I remember when I used to do it, and I just keep doing it. Now I judge a person, and then within seconds I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And then I catch it, and I'm compassionate about it. But my point is this: rookie coaches have a weak core story, meaning they are blaming things around them, their experiences, things that have happened that they wish that shouldn't happen, and they're not blaming them in the right way. Tony Robbins once said, if you're going to blame people for all the bad, all the shit in your life, you better blame them for all the good. And I think that's really powerful, and that really helped me to blame effectively. What that means is, when I think of my dad not being there now, when I think of my dad not being there now, I've learned to blame effectively. What does that mean? Well, what that means is, on Father's Day today, we have little Sage. We have a new baby that's going to be here imminently, God willing, in the next few weeks. And I recognise that I wouldn't be the man I am today if I'd grown up with a fully present father. Who knows who I would be, what I would be like. If I'd had the perfect father, so to speak, maybe I wouldn't be the man I am today. Maybe I wouldn't have been so conscious and intentional with how I show up, because I didn't have that blueprint, so I had to kind of figure it out for myself. The man bit. I had my mum. My mum was amazing. She's an incredible human being. She did 2 for the price of 1. I texted her that this morning. Thanks, Mum. Happy Father's Day, as I always do. Thanks for the best 2 for 1 in the history of 2 for 1s. And I believe a lot of really successful expert coaches, and by success, what I mean by that is not how much money they're making, but they're literally living and breathing and walking the walk, not just talking the talk on coaching. And they're working on their shit, right? They make sure, successful coaches, expert coaches, have a really powerful core story that empowers them, that doesn't disempower them. Something happens to them and they use it as a force for good. I mean, here's a story for you. What chance would you give this young girl? I'm going to kill this story, by the way. I don't remember the exact details. The young girl who is raised by I think her mum dies when she was born, I think. Then she's raised by an uncle who's sexually abusive to her. And I think an uncle's friend gets her pregnant when she's about 14. She has the baby's stillborn. And there's so many other components to that story, horrific story. And you go, what chance would you give that girl? And many people I ask that to, they say, oh, I wouldn't give them much chance. And then it turns out, I say, whose story is it? It's Oprah Winfrey's story. The point being that we're not here to compare stories. You may say, well, Miles, my story is a whole lot worse than that. It's not about comparing stories. I'm sure you've had some horrible experiences and I'm not trying to downplay them, but what I am trying to do is say, if you're going to blame your core story, blame it effectively, use it as a force for good. If you're going to be out there in the world as a coach, use your pain as a way to show others, wow, if they can get through that, I can get through my stuff. So instead of using it as a reason to stay in victimhood, expert coaches use it as a story for success. I've got a good friend of mine, Jean-Pierre de Villiers, who, hey, if you're watching JP, he had a hit and run a few years ago on a Land's End to John O'Groats ride. And I went to see him in hospital. He was all stitched up on the strongest drugs that there could be. He was right on the edge of death before going into hospital. And now he's made a full speedy recovery. Check him out, he's amazing. And I remember when we spoke, he was morphined up to the max. And he said, this is going to be, I remember him saying, drugged up, he was like, this is going to be a great story. Even in that moment of that experience, of that adversity, of that horrendous experience, JP was able to realize that that was going to help him and help his audience in their future and help him. And he used that as a story of forgiveness and compassion. And it's helped him with other people that have been through experiences where they've maybe not been kind and compassionate to themselves or to others. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. Let me know your thoughts and I'll see you next time. Peace out.